Over and over and over again, Godzilla, my new spoken word album, coming out in November. Okay, let's talk about the latest film from Dwayne The Rock Johnson. This was well received over in Europe at the film festivals. Minutes and minutes of standing room only, uh, standing applause. And that's great. That doesn't sell tickets, though, especially in today's world. So let's talk about the Smashing Machine. I think a lot of people thought, well, there's a UFC crowd, there would be a immediate buy-in, but you know, the guy portrayed in the movie, Mark Kerr, is kind of like the Ty Cobb kind of type, as far as one of those early figures of the game, Cy Young, whatever, before UFC exploded. So some people know about him who know the sport, but UFC is not quite as history driven as, well, baseball. So I don't know if they got the UFC boost that they expected. Taylor Swift was in the theaters too. And I think, I don't know, the fact that they try to say straightforwardly, this is kind of a story of struggles. It's not, yeah, UFC, I'm going to show you how it's done on the mat, just like I did in the wrestling ring. Nope, not there. This is not The Rock conquers the octagon. A personal story, and a story that probably resonates for most pro athletes. Even the best of the best don't get a happy ending. Yeah, you get the occasional Jim Brown, you know what? I'm dominant, I'm the best at what I do, I'm going to go act for a while. You get those rare stories. Even Tom Brady didn't end the way he'd like to end. Michael Jordan played some more. I think he distinguished himself playing in a bad knee at 40 in Washington. But a lot of people would have loved to have seen him just quit with that winning shot against the Jazz that Bob Costas captured so well. So let's talk about the Smashing Machine, as I get a peanut out of the way. The Smashing Machine takes you back to the late 90s, and The Rock goes through a body transformation. As you know, he's not exactly a petite little Tinkerbell type person, but he really just got Hulk massive in this thing. It was crazy looking. So the story, you get a sense of UFC growing. It was a turbulent time. A lot of people forget about this. The term tough man competition was out there. And a lot of legislators, before we talked about red and blue states, all kinds of states were looking into this. Like, there are people doing this mixed martial arts thing who were, I don't know, taking liberties or kicks to the head. And there were some concerns. This film really captures that as you start off in the States, then go off to Brazil, and then off to Japan. In Japan, they were, kind of figuring out the rules as they went along, because we don't need guys dying in the ring or octagon. So, Mark Kerr is someone who doesn't know what defeat looks like, has never experienced it, has a little bit of fear of that. Like, wow, what would I do? Not to do a spoiler alert, but, there's some human moments where, things don't quite work out. And this isn't just the usual assembly line Rock movie. He really shows vulnerability. Not that 30, 40-second vulnerability scene, but some vulnerability that carries over from scene to scene to scene. And I think his experience as a football player probably helped, because when he was there during the heyday of the Miami Hurricanes, he had big dreams. He was thinking the NFL, and injuries just tore him up. He goes to Canada, undrafted in the NFL, goes and plays one game, and he gets $7 with some Canadian prime minister we don't know about on the cover. And, he's off back to the States penniless. And that disappointment certainly is in the memory bank. He's happy with how things turned out. Life turned out a lot better by being The Rock and then going into movies, but he still, I think, channels that time in football and this character. And Mark has problems with life in and out of the ring. If there was one thing that I would flush out, there's so much pressure from studios. Oh, you've got to be less than 2 hours. You've got to be an hour and a half so that we can show in the Cineplex as many times as possible that first week. We're putting everything on the first week. I think 5 to 6 minutes might have flushed out the story of his future wife. Big struggles. And that future wife played by the lovely, breathtaking, heartbreaking Emily Blunt. There's, a nice range of emotion, the subtlety, where there are the silent tears, there are the all-out arguments. I don't think they flush out her character enough, but by the same token, I guess it also captures that the Rock's character, Mark Kerr, is just so driven into one thing, winning, and just doesn't leave space for anything else, doesn't know how to do anything else. Real struggle for him. Yeah, he wants her in certain moments, but he doesn't know how to make her a bigger part of his life. So that could have had a little more there, but to me, just he played the role of someone whose life completely was spiraling out of control, on target and beautifully. And I love the music. They play Elvis in My Way. Some people hear, oh, he's singing Frank Sinatra song. Yeah, he's got a nice take on it. To me, I hear My Way. I hear a guy saying, you know what? This life didn't work out. And I have some failings. And maybe he didn't think directly consciously. But you just get that heaviness that, you know what? I'm not long for this world. But doggone it, I hope I left my mark. I did it my way. And the use of My Way from Elvis was just magical. And I love how they shot this film. It looked 1970s style. Even though we're talking about the late 90s, it just felt different. I enjoyed it. There was great dialogue and, camaraderie. It's so important to have, you've got all the crowds cheering and all the noise, and sometimes everything you need is just that one friend who understands what you're going through. And that was a big part of this movie. But yeah, it was not your typical, oh yeah, unstoppable guy. Yeah, he's a warrior. Oh, no, it was a real psychological study. And to me, I wish they had about another 10 minutes in this movie. But good stuff. I think The Smashing Machine is well worth your time. Ignore the box office numbers. Taylor was there. People weren't jazzed for whatever reason. But I thought it was just a darn good movie.